Russell Westbrook has retired. I give my thoughts about his career next on Beyond the Locker Room. So Russell Westbrook has retired, at the age of 37. He's had a great career, obviously. This earlier this week, he said he hung it up. An 18-year career that's a quite a illustrious and impactful career in a lot of ways. And I just want to kind of give my props to Westbrook because I think he's a guy that really never really kind of got his due in a lot of ways. And I think just to give my thoughts about it because players like him I think are rare. I think he's kind of a dying breed to some extent, a dying kind of type of player. And I just want to kind of give him his due because I've always enjoyed enjoyed watching him play, enjoyed the passion that he expressed for the game and the seriousness that he took it with as well too. Obviously all-time triple-double guy. He holds the record for the most triple-doubles in NBA history. A lot of people want to take shots at that record. I always say if it was so easy to do, why didn't more players do it and do it as often as he did? It does take a lot to do so, and for him to be that type of player, that type of college player, I give him his due for it because it's not easy to produce triple doubles as much as a lot of basketball geeks at home like to tell you that how easy it supposedly is. But props to him. He also was an MVP, named in 2017 as the most valuable player in the league. He also alongside 9 All NBA selections. He ranks 5th all time in career assists, which I think is a great point to bring out because a lot of people think of Westbrook as a scorer, but he actually was a pretty good assist man as well too. 14th in total points. You know, for the most part, he played with various teams, obviously, with the Rockets, the Wizards, the Lakers, the Clippers, and finishing with Sacramento. But of course, he'll be known for his time as the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the greatest players for the franchise. And I think, the way he played. Looking for a t-shirt that says more than just your style? Beyond the Locker Room tees are made with premium quality fabric that's soft, comfortable, and built to last. Perfect whether you're at the game, at the gym, or out with friends. Every design is inspired by the mindset, passion, and culture of sports, giving you something that stands out wherever you go. Shop the full collection today at www.beyondlockerroom.store. Wear the mindset, live the game. Beyond the Locker Room. By the way, check it out. It's a great video that Michael B. Jordan narrated for his tribute. I thought it was a really nice touch. But a lot of his peers gave love to him, including Kevin Durant, of course, LeBron James. Their tributes to his drive. He's one of one in a lot of ways. Westbrook. Because I think a lot of people take what he had, that type of passion, take it for granted, and based on the type of sports. And I'm not trying to pick on NBA. I think if you look across sports, period, guys like that really don't exist in a lot of sports anymore. And I think when they're gone, you really start realizing it. Like, wow, his intensity, his aggression. You hear a lot of folks say, "Oh man, all these guys are friends nowadays. I wish it was like back in the day." Well, Westbrook was that type of player. Like once you were wearing the opposite jersey, Westbrook and you were done. Maybe we're cool in the summertime, but at that point, we're done. He came with a certain intensity. He's a great pick and roll guy, which a lot of people don't give him credit for that. I mean, some of the stuff he worked, especially later in his career when he played with guys like Steven Adams, devastating. I remember a game here in Toronto where literally I think they ran the same pick and roll, he and Adams, for about 12 straight times, and the Raptors couldn't stop it. And like this is glory days of Raptors, I believe too. This is like during DeRozan, Lowry time, I think. So it wasn't like we're picking on like the lowly Raptors stuff. Those were pretty good teams if I recall. Like that he was playing against when he was doing that. But his ability to kind of get the hoop, his freak athleticism, which quite honestly he never left him up to the last moments. He still was that type of athlete. He's definitely one of those guys where if it's a regular Wednesday night and you're just looking for a game to watch, if he was on, I was flipping to see what he was up to, and especially his prime, which was like pretty much Thunder years and the year with Houston, I think he was really great that season. I think a lot of people, that's an underrated season for him. If you really watch it, I think they essentially played him at times as like kind of a pseudo center, because they wanted to space so much. Obviously he wasn't a great 3 point shooter, and they played him almost in a center position, kind of. And, kind of inverted situation with their bigs being able to shoot from outside as well as Harden, and had him playing, kind of like essentially the center position in some ways. But he was um he was one of one truly. I think that's the reason why you see a lot of people today, Brody, as we Wire fans know him as, in the nickname that he picked up, based on the show and the popularity and the underground love that the show had for years. He had that type of thing where, he's the classic example of like real recognizes real, game recognizes game. And I think he is like this generation's Allen Iverson to some extent, where it's like every player's favorite player is Westbrook to some extent. Like, guys will always respect him in that way. I think as they have that type of like sense of reverence for Iverson now, I think Westbrook will have that, and I think he will continue to have it as it continues, or post his career, I should say. Another thing to point out as well too, he was always a guy that stood on business. He said what he said. He meant what he said. And I know some people didn't like it. I appreciate that with him. Like some of the stuff that happened with the fans, where they took it too far as he was concerned. He wasn't backing down. And I appreciate that. He knew his humanity. And he's like, no, I'm not taking it. And I thought that was one of the things that I liked from him a lot. I think also too, a lot of the stuff he did off the court that he doesn't get a lot of shine about. He never really made any big deal about it. Where, I think after the tornadoes that happened in Oklahoma City, he was back there supporting them. I think this is after he had left Oklahoma City. I think it was the following year maybe, where he still was there handing out stuff, providing stuff and funds and resources and time in Oklahoma City. We did a lot of charity stuff there. He continued to do a lot of charity stuff across many different aspects. Be it, and he also had a lot of way of putting out interesting things with his production company, his stuff about the Tulsa, um, you know, the Tulsa assaults and Tulsa attacks that happened years ago. He had a great documentary on that spoke to that. He had of course he had a fashion and flair side. You'll see him at the Met Gala or fashion shows, and something is kind of like, where you don't expect it from a guy like that, but he had that type of side where you can see his artistic side, a more sensitive side, if you want to say, as well too. Family man. I appreciate how he stood up for himself about his name. When guys were pretty much calling clowns, like, like Skip Bayless calling him West Brick and stuff like that. Like, like, I get what he's saying. Like, those things, it might not seem like much. You might think it's like, oh, it's just all banter and you're talking about on radio or TV, but like, he's got family. The children got to go and deal with that. Children get picked on at school with that type of stuff. And it's his family name. He has respect for his family name. And, I can understand any person, be it man or woman, kind of say, hey, man, that's my family's name. It's my lineage, man. You can't be just kind of here kind of bastardizing it in that sense. So I understood his comments there. But as I said before, he's a person that stood on his principles. He knew it was about, I think Kevin Durant made a great, kind of like essay or so on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it calls itself these days, talking about his work ethic, which no one denied. He's classic first in, last out type of guy. And as I said before, he's a player, that you never have to worry about if he was going to come and bring it in a big game. He was always going to be a guy like you knew you didn't get from Westbrook. And true, all of it wasn't always the greatest at times, but he was never shy of the moment. And I think that's the thing about Westbrook that made him such a special player. I always liked him from university to UCLA, underrated team, that UCLA team with him and Love. Holiday, I think, was on that team too. Really good team, man. Really good team. They made the finals, I think, that year. But Westbrook was like, from there, you see it now with young guards coming out, and you see all the draft gurus saying, "Oh, he's got type of like that freakish athleticism, like Russell Westbrook." You see now they're using Westbrook as a comp for any sort of explosive young guards. But I never seen one quite like Russell Westbrook. And as I said before, he's from a time gone by. They don't make him like that anymore. And I salute you, sir. I enjoyed your play. I enjoy what you brought to the game. and I think you really made it a very enjoyable experience for many NBA fans. So I tip my cap to you. And once again, man, all the best to he and his family on this next journey of his time and his endeavors. I look forward to see what he's going to be up to next. But I just wanted to put that out there, kind of give my thoughts about Russell Westbrook. It's one of those things where at times you kind of got to smell the roses. You know, too many times we're on to the next thing and don't give it a great enough appreciation for, hey, you know, what was. So yeah, props to Russell Westbrook. Um, from UCLA, I believe number 4 pick in the draft is why you wear the number 4. You know, as I said before, fantastic player and one of one. Anyways, I'll leave it there, guys. Take it easy. Look forward to talk to you guys. Next time. You can always find me on X, Facebook, IG, and Blue Sky. And as always, you can find me right here on YouTube. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, guys. It's for free. Talk to you next time. Peace.